This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with Andy's Man Club, lads. Remember, it's okay to talk. Tonight, it's just the two of us. We're 100% British, and as always, we are 100% Giants. We're back after our week off, and it's the turn of the big boys this week as we're back to continue our roster state of play series, bringing you the latest look at the last two positions on offense. It's guards and centres time. It's the big boys. And joining me this evening is Aaron. While the rest of the guys are clearly off sunning themselves in this beautiful weather, it's currently 29.5 degrees in this room I'm currently sat in, so I'm sweltering, hence the vest, hence the fan, and yeah, I'm just trying to keep cool. Nice cold drink as well. They're off sunning themselves. We're here to get stuck in the trenches. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, can't wait. It's the time of the year where we can get big butts on the chat and all hot and sweaty all over it. So all it needs is just the two of us. We'll have a great fun and yeah, this is it goes quiet at this time of year because we're kind of coming up to that period where everyone has the summer off and they come back for those long days of training camp. But yeah, what better way? We've got all of our defense to see us through until then, so we have perfect timing to finish off offense and get onto defense in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly that. Evening, Darren. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Who better to talk the big guys in the middle of the O-line than the two big guys in this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for much more. Yeah. No, looking forward to tonight. It's been a good week off. Download Festival the weekend was insane. It was hot, hence the pink tinge all over me. It was hot, but it also rained as well, which was quite pleasant, but also not very nice because it did get a bit heavy at one point. But yeah, overall the weekend was amazing. If any of you were there, anyone that's watching, if any of you were there, I'm sure you'd agree it was a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to next year already, and yeah, just looking forward to getting into it tonight. If you're watching live on YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch, whichever platform you're on, get involved in the comments as you already have been. Kieran, evening mate. Steve, I am also amazed Shane isn't around to talk O-line. Unfortunately, he's not. But you know, me and Aaron are here to hold the fort for the big boys.
Yeah, in this heat, it was just too much for Shane. He just couldn't. Yeah, he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that sort of just. You know, he's not built like us. You know, he can't. You know, he can't handle the heat. He's like, yeah. Send us your questions. Give us your opinions. What do you think about the guards and centres? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and feel free to leave us a review on your platform of choice. Make sure it is 5 stars. And we thank you for all the love. Right on cue, actually. We are going to be joined in any second by a friend of the pod because we have a very important announcement to make, and we thought what better way to start off this week's episode. So welcome into this evening's episode, Andy from UK Giants. How are you doing, mate?
Not bad, yourself?
Hot.
Aren't we all?
How are you both wearing hats, by the way?
Mate, you should see the hair.
Yeah, I got an ice pack under my hat.
I mean, that's a great shout. I mean, Andy, I want to see the hair.
No.
I want to see... No? Come on.
Mate, the hat hair's metal.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't have that.
Mental.
Go on, lads. Go on. Look at that. Love it. I unfortunately don't have that problem. You know, there's not really much on here anymore. But kudos to you for having that hat on. Maybe it'll keep the sweat out of your eyes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's the plan, right? That's the plan. So we've got a big announcement to make. Obviously, if you watched the episodes or listened to the episode a couple of weeks ago, you might have sort of known there may be something coming or something in the works. And yeah, what a better way to start off this evening's show with that big announcement. As always, we're working together with Andy and with Keith, obviously the UK Giants group. And yeah, we've got something to drop. So Andy, do you want to do the honours?
You put me on the spot now. Hold on.
Go on.
It's in the group chat, right? Hold on.
It is.
I know it's the meetup and it's the Eagles game, but I couldn't tell you the day.
There we go. It's the meet-up and it's the Eagles game. So, happy
My
days.
bad.
So, we have planned our first meet-up, our London meet-up for the upcoming season. It's going to be for the massive divisional clash against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Dirty Birds. Week 8, October 26th. And we're going to be holding it at Belushi's of London Bridge. It's going to kick off from 4 p.m. The reason it is 4 p.m. is because the clocks go back the Saturday, the day before, so it's a 5 p.m. kick-off of the game, not 4 p.m. Not 6 p.m. Sorry. So we're going to kick off the evening from 4 p.m. It's going to go until late. We'll probably have the late games on in the bar as well. We'd love as many people as possible to come down, and more information can be found on our social pages and also on your social pages, Andy. Right?
I believe so. I think Keith's got it all set up, ready to go.
Happy days. Yeah, check those pages out and get involved. Come down, meet us, and yeah, have a good night and watch Giants football. And hopefully, we watch the Giants win against the Eagles, which doesn't happen very often at the moment. So that would be beautiful.
In Philly as well.
Exactly, in Philly as well. So
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was just the old quarterback era, new quarterback era, new Giants, new luck in Philly.
yeah.
Oh, I like him. Where do you find him?
He's Mr. Positive, right? Yeah, obviously we'll have to look at Russell Wilson's record against the Eagles at some point, just to determine whether he's good against them or not. Sorry, I have to clean my glasses because they're steaming up because it's so bloody hot. Yeah, we'll have to have a look at Russell Wilson's record against the Eagles to see how he's fared against them. But no, I'm massively looking forward to it. It should be a good night. Steve, beers are on you then if it's just before your birthday, right? That's the way it works, yeah?
It's not the
Or is it
wrong
the
way
other way?
round. Shouldn't we buy him a beer?
No. Yeah, we'll make sure we get you a few birthday beers, mate. Only 18 weeks to go. Look at that. Not long.
Christ.
I mean, it's, 10 weeks till the season starts?
80 days.
Well, you guys
There
are
you go.
way too into this. I'm just enjoying the off season. They're not beating me with a baseball bat every Sunday. I'm just having fun. You guys are trying to fill the off season. I respect it.
And do you know what number 80? Do you know who that is?
You were going for Cruz?
Cruz.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that someone posted all of his 10 touchdowns from one of the seasons. I was watching those earlier, celebrating 80 days
Beautiful.
of one season. So and
Beautiful.
every single one of them is fantastic. No little 1 yard fall into the end zone. All of them were awesome.
Was that the
including
season of the
9-yarder
Jets?
against the Jets?
There you go.
Victor Cruz, 99 yards. Love it. Keith makes a good point. Or Jeremy Shockey. Yeah, fair. I do have a Jeremy Shockey jersey somewhere, actually. So
I have spent probably the last 3 weeks with a Jeremy Shockey jersey in my favourite items on eBay, trying to decide whether I'm going to pull the trigger or not.
Buy. You know you want to. Darren, come along if you can get to it. We'd love to have you there, mate. And Keith, we're trying to keep cool, but it's not really working. It's pretty warm. 18 weeks to go. If you can come along, let us know, just so we've got a rough idea of numbers. You can also find out more information about Belushi's by going to the website, belushis.com/London-Bridge. We're looking forward to having it there. New venue for us, and as by all accounts, it's a great venue as well. So we are looking forward to it. Andy, you coming?
I'll be there. It'd be bad if I
Come
wasn't,
on.
wouldn't it? Just here to
Come
announce it.
on.
Have fun, guys.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a great night. And for those that can come, we look forward to seeing you there. We'll all be there. Me, Aaron, Craig, Shane, and Kev. I think all of us will be there. So it's going to be a good night, and hopefully we can top it off with a Giants win. So,
Yeah, and I think there's a Premier Inn almost next door, which is where I'm booking in and staying in, coming over from Bristol and making sure I can enjoy the late games as well.
yeah, there's a Premier Inn, and I believe there's a travel lodge nearby as well. So, plenty of cheap accommodation options available near. No doubt, if you wanted to go down that route as well, there'll be plenty of Airbnbs near there as well. So, take your pick. Join us in London, 26th of October, 4 p.m. Belushi's. Be there or be sort of square.
What was that?
Sort of a square, but not really a square because you can't really do it with your hands.
You're all doing it wrong anyway. We've got plenty of members in London. Make friends, sleep on sofas. That's what I've got Sam for.
Oh, there you go. sleep on sofas. Yeah, that's true. But no, good news, and hopefully we'll have more meetups to announce later in the year in different locations. So watch this space and keep watching, and we'll let you know if any more meetups are planned. Well, thanks, Andy. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
You feel free to stay with us if you wish, or if you've got other plans, you can.
I can stick around. I don't know what we're talking about.
Why not? We're talking guards and centres tonight.
Okay.
So, 3 big guys talking guards and centres. There we go. That's better. Obviously, if you do need to go, then that's no problem. But feel free
I'm
to
good.
stick around.
And I did once block for Eli, so
There we go.
That's how they got him out of the pub when we did the Eli show.
No, wait. Get out of the way. Yeah, nice.
The big security guard, the other guy, was far more helpful than me, but I blocked the other side, so.
Well done, mate.
Thanks.
That's a claim to fame. Don't know. But yeah, you'll see this poster all over our socials, and also with Andy and Keith's socials as well. No, so find details at belushis.com and get involved. We are going to move on and get on with the latest news. There's not really been much going on. Like Aaron said, it's kind of that time of the year where everybody sort of goes into siesta mode, really. Everyone has a break over the summer. So this week saw the end of OTAs. Summer break now in full swing, obviously, before training camp gets cracking. About a month from now, rookies reporting on the 15th of July, with vets a week later on the 22nd. We'll finally see some pads on in practice. Come on. No doubt the running backs and linemen will enjoy evening things up against the defence as well. So we have 2 joint practices scheduled with the Jets too, which should be interesting.
Jesus.
Yeah. What do you make of that? Joint practices with the Jets?
I mean, we're fighting with ourselves, aren't we? So.
Well, yeah, I say for the joint practices, I'm looking forward to seeing Neighbours versus Source. That's going to be a fun battle with the 1-on-1s or the 7-on-7s. I think everyone's going to be looking out for that.
Yeah, man. I think that's definitely going to be one of those competitions to keep your eye on, isn't it? And it'd be. I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing somebody else as well, Aaron, aren't you? Yeah. 44, of course you are. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing Scatterby as well. Just to see him in pads doing his thing, and maybe he'll move himself up the depth chart as well. You never know. Got 2 joint practices with the Jets scheduled. Obviously last year we had joint practice with the Lions, and the year before, can't think of who it was. Maybe it wasn't the Lions.
Was it the Patriots?
Quite possibly, yeah. Obviously we have the yearly pre-season game against the Jets, so I'm going to assume that it's in the lead up to that game. I don't know the dates of them. I don't have them.
Yeah, the 16th is. I think it's the 12th and 13th we're doing the joint practices, and then the 16th is the game. And I think very quickly followed up by Game 3 against the Patriots. There's not enough time to put the joint practices in there, so I think a lot of people speculated it would be with Buffalo because of the connections and everything else, but they've gone in for the after Game 1 in that kind of 10-day period between that game and Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised, a little bit surprised it wasn't joint practice with Buffalo, because I'd rather have a joint practice with Buffalo because they're a better team. But,
Ouch.
you know, I mean, it's the Jets, come on.
Ouch.
I mean, Jets, Bills, who's the better team? It's Buffalo, clearly.
Oh, we probably need the confidence boost, so I'd rather play the Jets.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, I suppose it could work that way, I suppose, but I think I'd rather go up against a better team and it'd be more of a tougher challenge for us than go up against the Jets and it'd be easy.
Have you seen our schedule? We need the easy games, like.
Yeah, I suppose you're not wrong.
God.
You're not wrong. Talking about OTAs, several players, including Malik Neighbours, didn't feature. Daves has no concerns over his health for camp, though. But one player that did leave OTAs early with a potential leg injury was Jalen Hyatt, and he'd been having a good camp so far with Russell Wilson's moonball. So remains to be seen what his injury status is going into camp. And yeah, talking about Cam Scatterboo, he was the last rookie to sign his contract, which now means all of our draft picks from this year put pen to paper on their first pro contracts. Aaron, did you have to have a moment yourself when he signed his contract?
Yeah, I was looking for all of the social media posts, waiting for that little signature in the office, and I think he got a nice 1.1 million signing bonus, which is, maybe in NIL days these days you don't need that so much, but these some of these guys are earning more than that on campus. But for a lot of rookies, that was their first time they got a paycheck in their bank accounts. They wanted to buy stuff for their parents and pay back people out to them on the way, and then buy their first Ferrari or whatever, and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, usually I think there's a rush to get them signed, but Cam's fairly late in the process. But probably he had enough NIL money knocking around that he wasn't desperate to cash in.
Yeah, he's probably just put down a deposit on a house or something instead. Probably got all he needs, or like you said, paid off people that have helped him along the way or something, or just splurged it on a massive 44 bit of ice to sit around his neck.
But he's got to change his number, so yeah, he's got to get all of the gear to kind of go with his new number. So
yeah, no doubt, sort of personalised cleats and thigh pads and stuff like that as well be on their way as well. So
just on a side note, can you imagine trying to drive a Ferrari through Manhattan?
Yeah,
you'd never get out of first gear.
Almost pointless, right?
Right?
Isn't the point of a Ferrari not to get out of first gear so people see you in it?
Yeah,
it sounded amazing on the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah, that's very true. But also, the ground clearance wouldn't be great because obviously the roads in Manhattan are full of bumps and drain covers and everything else as well. It would absolutely ruin the car. So maybe it's not. Maybe it's
steam.
Wise to not, yeah, maybe it's wise to not drive a Ferrari through Manhattan. Well, I'm sure there's been plenty that done it, but
and I'm probably doing Cam a disservice. You see more of a monster truck guy, right?
Yeah, I think he seems like a massive, sort of a big pickup truck guy, like a Ford F-150 or something like that.
They are beautiful. Them.
They are stunning, aren't they? They are really nice.
The ambassador drives an F-150, and I could park my car on the rear seat.
Yeah, and
beautiful.
You just sort of look at it and go, "That's a car."
It's a tailgate machine, is what that is.
Yeah, that's very true. That's the definition of a tailgate, isn't it? Yeah, that's really it for the news. There's not really much else, and there's not going to be much else now really for the next month. And there might be the odd sort of little bit here and there, but if there is anything else, we'll keep you posted and bring you the latest as and when it happens. And as usual, keep your eye on our socials, because anything that does happen, we usually put it up on there pretty sharpish too. Alright then, on to the main event, and we're starting off this week with our centres. And first up, John Michael Schmitz, because where else would we start than the current starting centre? He's entering year 3 with the team. We're hoping to see a sort of big step forward from last year, where he ranked 28th out of 40 qualifying centres as per PFF. He played in 15 games before missing the final 2 with injury. Statistically, he showed improvement in the run game. He ranked 15 out of 37. but he gave up 6 sacks and 5 quarterback hits, leaving us wanting more in pass protection. That seemed to be his sort of general weakness last year, was pass pro. But do you think that's... do you agree with that, Aaron, that he needs to improve in pass pro, or is there any other areas you think he needs to improve in?
Yeah, I think it's really tricky with a centre, especially new QB, new pairing, getting used to a new cadence. Obviously, centre, you've got to get the ball off on time. You don't want that false start, everyone but the centre, because you forgot to snap the ball. So there's always a mental challenge around playing as a centre, because you've got that responsibility. You're generally in charge of setting protection, so sort of communicating with the quarterback and then that protection, and that can be something that's slow.
Oh,
Hands froze.
Aaron has left.
back.
Oh, he's back again. There he is. It's the heat affecting your Wi-Fi.
Well, you froze for me, so I don't know whether it was me or you.
Oh. Andy,
So-
you're the decider. Who froze?
I had Aaron going slightly weird, but
Yeah.
it is warm.
Okay. So where did I get to? Something about young centres and mental game and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when you have to think, it slows your feet down. On the interior line, the thing you need most is fast feet, because you've got to get your body in front of the guys, otherwise they're blown by. You can't have pressure up the middle, and that's sort of what we've seen with JMS a little bit in pass pro. And I don't know whether it's uncertainty because we've had so much fluidity in the 2 guard spots about who's lining up next to him and knowing whether people understand the protection and stuff. But he's shown kind of the capability, and some of the run blocking's good, and maybe it's just, I don't know if it's JMS who's not there mentally, physically, or it's the people around him that he hasn't been able to put his trust in, because we've had so much change on that interior line. We'll talk a lot about that today, but can't have pressure up the middle. It really messes up the quarterback timing, especially when you've got a guy that's gun shy anyway, or had a guy that was gun shy anyway.
Yeah. Now we don't have a guy that's gun shy.
No.
He's not afraid to fling it downfield. Andy, what's your thoughts on John Schmidt so far in his 2 years?
I'm going to put you on the spot now. Do you have his stats for when we'd got Thomas on the line?
Not
That's
to
a no.
hand, but there wasn't. To be fair, there wasn't a lot in his stats across the season. It didn't really show too much progression. I think he had a really good game against Atlanta, but Atlanta had no pass rush last year. So, his passing grade against Atlanta, I think the whole team's passing grade was a phenomenal in that game, because Atlanta had no pass rush. So, yeah, I think he was sort of a below average centre in the pass game, bang average, which is where we kind of said we wanted to be last season in the run game. And we obviously saw that with some of the kind of springing Tracy, giving Tracy big runs because he wasn't breaking so many tackles. He was kind of getting lanes and running. So that's where I think we were doing okay. But it wasn't really progression across the season. I think everyone on the left side, at least anyway, had a terrible game against Cleveland, and we won the game, and that was obviously Myles Garrett related. But yeah, there's in general, he kind of performed as well as the opponents allowed him to perform. In that sense, he wasn't a difference maker in the pass game at all.
Okay. So my theory was that once Thomas went down, the whole line disintegrated, and they all seemed to lose confidence. But I mean, to be fair, he's got worse things coming his way this season because obviously Evan Neal's moving down the line. So I hope he fills in well at a guard. It's going to go one or two ways. It's either going to be the best guard you've ever seen or the worst draft pick you've ever seen. And there's no in between at this point. But
What you hedging your bets on?
I hope he's the best guard we've ever seen, but I'm kind of giving up on the kid. And I hate to give up on the kid, but they're kind of wearing me out, the Giants.
Yeah, well, we'll talk Evan Neal shortly. But JMS, I think, obviously, through his first 2 years, obviously second round pick in 2023, has he lived up to expectations, Andy, do you reckon? Or do you think he's fallen short?
I think it's really hard to judge him in the team he's been in. I mean, if you've got a quarterback who throws the ball quicker, you probably don't see the stats that you're currently seeing. But DJ used to hold the ball a lot. When he should scramble, he didn't. When he shouldn't, he did. And then I think you kind of have a knock-on effect with the guards and the centres. Is he everything we hoped he'd be? Probably not. Will he get there? Maybe. It's really hard to tell at the minute.
It is, and obviously, what we're going to see, well, what we're likely to see this year is actually a little bit of consistency on the offensive line. The tackles are good. I mean, I say consistent as in, I mean like consistent as in like the same players coming back from last year into this year. Looking at sort of projected starters, right? So that they're going into sort of year 2 of building that sort of unit. And I think, there was a lot of expectation on his shoulders coming in as a round 2 pick. And I think, personally, he has fallen short of expectation. But there's various factors to it. Like you said, like the quarterback play over the last 2 years was shocking. Anyway, the amount of injuries on that line, you could go on and on and on. But I think he's definitely got what it takes. I think he just needs to refine parts of his game, like you said, Aaron. He needs to have those quick feet and not sort of think too much about it. He just needs to just do your job. And I think having those consistent guys either side of him in year 3 will definitely help. Looking at the other centres then, the sort of the backup guys. Aaron, do you want to run through them for us?
Yeah, so Austin Schlottman, Jimmy Morrissey, and Brian Hudson. So all of them are multi-year veterans in the league, but none of them actually have any offensive snaps in the league wherever they've been. So 2 to 3 years, most of them. A couple have got snaps on sort of field goal teams and stuff like this, or they. I think one of them's lined up as like a 6th lineman, as a tight end kind of eligible. So I can't really add much more than that, except for they're there if there's an injury in camp. We obviously have 2nd and 3rd string, so we need those guys to fill out the camp roster. I would expect that if we require a backup centre, because obviously GVR stepped in as centre the last 2 games of the season, that we'll look for cuts at the end of camp and bring someone in from somewhere else as a backup centre. I think these guys, unless obviously there's always a chance that someone gets an opportunity to run with the 2s and show something that gets them on the roster as the backup, and we can press them in a service if we have to. So. But yeah, none of them have got particular careers behind them to really call out where we can go with them.
No, that's the thing. We don't really know much about them. We've not really seen much of them on the field in that position. So it's almost a case of like it's definitely the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah, and you go back to college tape with them, and I'm not a big college scouter for kind of deep centres as much as I do like the big butts. I'm much more of a fantasy football player, so that's why I like the likes of Scatterboo and Neighbours when they come out and get really excited about those sort of guys. But centre, it's unlikely that these guys make the roster, given that the backup as it stands would be GVR. If there's an injury in camp and one of these guys may make the team because you don't want to necessarily run that quarterback, you've got to learn the cadence. You've got to learn kind of some of the calls. So someone off the street or from another team, it may take them 2 or 3 weeks to get up to speed. But I would expect a veteran centre to be on the practice squad from another team week 1 for us.
Yeah, I mean a wild card there might be Marcus Bowe, right? Who we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, like. Because he's been described as this sort of like multi-positional player, like he can play all positions on the offensive line. We've only obviously seen him line up, I think it was right tackle during OTAs, but do you reckon he could fill in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's one to watch for camp if he gets time there, whether he runs with the 2s and 3s at any point, getting reps at centre. But if we don't see him doing that in camp, I'd very much doubt that we would see him pressed into service. I think the plan for him is definitely to be the backup right tackle. And if we lose Illuminor at the end of the season because he goes for a big free agency contract, he's the right tackle for next year. And I think that's the plan with Bo coming out. I think Bo needs to get in the NFL weight room, get his body type right, because he doesn't have a big butt, but he's big, if that makes sense. So he's kind of like, what position does he really sit at? He's not necessarily the right size for any of them. So an extra year in the locker room, learning the scheme in the weight room is where I want to see Bo. But he is an athlete, and sometimes you've got to get your best 5 guys on there, and sometimes you end up getting your best 5 guys on there because of injury, right? So I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't expect to see it.
Yeah, that's a good point. He might be thrust in because of injury at some point. We hope he's not, but it'd be nice for him to sort of sit behind Illuminor for a year and learn, because who better to learn from than Jermaine Illuminor, right? But moving on to guards then, I think the nailed on starter realistically at the moment is John Runyon. Even though he ranked 58th out of 77 qualifying guards last year, which doesn't sound great. He's about to start year 2 of a 3-year contract that he signed prior to last season. That contract was for $30 million, with $17 million of that guaranteed.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The Giants, obviously, they have an out at the end of this season, so if he doesn't perform this year, it will be most likely be goodbye to John Runyon. He started 13 games at left guard before missing the final 4 with injury, and during the season he struggled at times in the run game, but he didn't do too badly in pass pro. He only gave up 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits, so pass pro was sort of clearly his strength last season. I'll come to you, Andy, with this one first. Do you think we saw enough from John Runyon to justify that big old contract?
No,
No.
Jesus. Great job, Joe. He can't build an O-line, can he, to save his life?
Well,
that
a lot of
contract
money,
is
right?
outrageous.
It's a lot of money.
Wow. Hey, man, at least we could throw a ball a bit from that side of the line, apparently. I don't remember seeing it, but I'd have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I think what you see, again, he obviously was the guy that was most impacted by Andrew Thomas going down, because again, left guard, you do work in a pair with your tackle, and you work in a pair with your centre, and depending on the protection, whether you're helping the tackle out, or you're helping the centre out, or you're on your own, or whatever. So I think obviously Andrew Thomas going down, he then had to pick up with that whole, we're not going to flip Illuminor over. Here's, was it a Hudson or it wasn't Hudson, it was someone else, wasn't it? And then a Zudu, and that didn't work. And it wasn't until week 10 in Munich where we went, right, Illuminor, you can flip over, and we'll put Evan Neal back in at right tackle, and that experiment. I understand why they didn't want to flip right tackle, but obviously left tackle was a bit more important in the NFL because it's your quarterback's blind side. So I think it was a big contract. I think where guard has gone this off-season, obviously we were in for Will Fries. Now Will Fries signed a 5-year, $87 million contract with 50-odd guaranteed. So that was an extra $7 million a year over what we signed John Runyon. So that's one of we'll talk about Evan Neal next, or coming up next. But guards aren't getting paid too much less than tackles, and might be seeing that Will Fries contract, which obviously we were priced out of, and him going to the Vikings. We obviously you don't get much less at guard these days than you do at tackle. At least once you're getting $15 million a year, what's an extra 3 or 4 million, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, looking at Runyon's cap number this year, just shy of $12 million this year. Yeah. And it's the same next year, but obviously we've got that out next year. I think it's definitely a make or break year for him on this line, and I really we need to see an improvement from him. We need to see him sort of in the top half of those qualifying guards in stats for it to actually be worth it. I think anything less than that, and it's likely that we wave bye to him. I liked the pickup as we signed him from. He came from Green Bay, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I liked him as a guard at Green Bay. I thought he was a decent pickup, but he just didn't really perform last year. And again, we had multiple offensive line issues last year, so maybe that's sort of part of the reason why he didn't necessarily perform so well. But like I said, pass pro, he did look better than he did in the run game. So he definitely needs to improve parts of his game. Looking at the other sort of two next on the list, we've got Greg Van Roten and we've got Evan Neal. So, Aaron, I'll let you take Greg Van Roten.
Yeah, so Greg Van Roten was 42nd out of 77, so 16 places higher than Runyon. Was on a one-year deal, started 15 games at right guard before filling in for JMS at centre in week 17 and 18. And he didn't miss a snap all season, so some of his value, although he's 35, some of his value is availability. He was 42 out of 77, middle of the pack. Like, I think he's back on a $3 million deal on another one-year contract. So for value for money, he's like way up there. Shown guard, centre flexibility. Came to the Giants with Cam Brasillo from Las Vegas as well, so he's kind of trusted in the system. And I think kind of for a 35 vet, you want these guys to be being replaced by draft picks and things like that. But at the same time, young line leadership, you'll take one of these guys and ride them until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Van Roten, I think again for not very much money was quite a shrewd pickup, along with Brasillo from the Raiders, and again I wouldn't say he necessarily impressed me last year. I don't think anybody on the offensive line really impressed me last year, but I think he didn't look too bad, and sometimes he sort of showed that experience. He showed that sort of veteran head on his shoulders when we needed someone to, and moving into centre when JMS went down with injury. I think again he showed that sort of versatility that we do need on the line. Andy, thoughts on Greg Van Roten? Do you like him?
Well, to be fair, out of the line, I think he was the one that impressed me the most. I don't know much about his character, but he's the sort of player you're going to need if you're going to turn Evan Neal into a guard, like to help you transition and stuff like that. He could be absolutely key for that. $3 million's a steal, I'd have thought.
Yeah, exactly. Considering, like we just talked about Runyon, obviously his contract being $30 million, we've got Van Roten for $3 million. So it's almost like, yeah, we'll save some money with you, Greg Van Roten. But then, do you think he could have demanded more money elsewhere? Or do you think he was just happy just to settle with the Giants?
Yeah, he signed fairly quickly back into free agent. I don't know if he signed before free agency. It was early March, mid-March, yeah. I think. So, but again, maybe he's a guy that I think from his rookie year, I think he sat out the league for like 5 years on practice squads before he eventually got in. And so, although he's 35, he's only got like 6 or 7 years actual experience in the league, like playing games. So, and sometimes you honour the coach that backs you. So why would you go away if the Giants will give him $3 million and he can stay with calm and stay in a scheme he knows? He's not going to have too many more years left with him, so may as well stay where he enjoys it, I guess.
Yeah, true. He is likely to be coming towards the end of his career, so he probably doesn't want to move his family again and this, and get used to a new coach and new line and everything else. So a little bit of consistency might sort of be on his radar more than anything at this stage in his career. But let's talk Evan Neal then. I mean, we have to talk Evan Neal, I know, but now, obviously, the fact that we didn't pick up his 5th-year option means he's a free agent at the end of this season. that's massive. You know, former 7th overall pick in 2022 came into last year expecting to start at right tackle before, during the off season, and then had ankle surgery, which forced him to miss most of camp, and then he lost his job to Illuminor, who, let's face it, bossed it, and there was no chance of him getting his starting job back. And then, like you said earlier, Aaron, he sort of ultimately made his first start of the year in Munich against the Panthers, and after failed starts by Izudu and Hubbard, it was almost like, now's your time to shine, boy. And what happened? Well, it was like a turnstile yet again. He showed some improvement in the run game, but pass protection, it just wasn't working for him on the edge. And as a result, like I said, the Giants declined his 5th-year option. So, we've said for years now that Evan Neal needs to move inside to guard. And now that it's happened, now that he is moving inside, do you think that A, he's good enough to make that move inside to guard, and B, do you think he can make the transition to become a starting guard in this league, Aaron?
So I think the pedigree says yes, he should be able to. So it wasn't seen as a reach. It wasn't seen as a crazy pick when we took him 7 overall. Nearly every draft board had him as the top tackle or the second tackle in the draft, right? So there's something there. There is a little bit of an Alabama bias, and if you look at Alabama tackles in the league, they perhaps don't do as well as they're hyped up to do. So maybe there's that. But what he showed at the back end of last season in the run game, where they were moving him about a little bit, getting him up to the second level, pulling a little bit, and that looks really good. And that at guard can be a really valuable skill to have, a pulling guard and all this kind of stuff. And then where he suffers in the pass pro is at tackle, you have to be a little bit more passive, because you kind of know who you're up against, because you've got that one-on-one on that edge defender. But depending on their alignment, you kind of have to wait for them to come to you a little bit, because you need to make sure they're not stunting and someone else is coming through. And that just seemed to slow him down, let him be run over, driven back, all this kind of stuff. Whereas at guard, you can't be slow. You have to be quick. You can get your hands on someone, and you can almost play it a little bit more like a run play anyway, and move someone out of the way. So I'm hoping that we see that side of him, and when we put him, yes, you have to move quicker, and some of his footwork isn't common. He's a big boy. He's 6'8" or whatever. He's bigger than most NFL guards. But we've just seen that work in Philly, right? With what's the guy's name?
Can't think of his name.
Was it anyway? It'll come back to me later. He moved into guard. Just got a big contract now after failing with the Jets at tackle. Moves into guard. Looks like a fantastic guard. Gets a big contract somewhere else after winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and he's mauling people inside. And making Snake One look really, really good by giving him absolute bus lanes to run through, not alleyways. So it's. I have hope that he will get there. He's been playing at left guard a lot, which is really interesting, because you're putting him next to the best tackle, making that left side look absolutely phenomenal. In terms of their size, their presence, right? That's going to intimidate the opposing D lines no end. So the contract year thing as well is a really big incentive. So do you want to be a guy that drops out of the league, and even if he doesn't get the offer from the Giants to stay on at guard, if he can get Runyon money at guard, like $10 million a year, like $12 million a year, I'm sure he'll be. That's better than what he's going to get as a tackle if he fails out this season. So, and I'm sure that Will Fry's contract sort of was one of the reasons why he went. I know I said I don't want to be a guard, and I'm sure it's part of the reason we've not seen him at guard previously was his own ego, saying, "I'm a tackle. I was 7th overall. I'm a tackle. I'm not a guard. I don't want to take that guard pay cut." Now saying that guard pay cut isn't as bad, knowing that he's not going to get the tackle money anyway, kind of hoping all of that motivation does work in our favour.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's just, for me, like, Evan Neal's he's just been a source of massive frustration. Because, again, expectation for him were massive, weren't they? And he's just nowhere near lived up to those expectations. But, now's his time to prove himself, and now's his time, just to take that sort of, because he's not on the outside. Maybe like the pressure be off a little bit, and he can try to concentrate on his game on the interior O line. And Evan Neal, I mean, we've spoken about him before, but do you think for him this is a year where it can either make or break his not just his time with the Giants, but his career in the NFL entirely?
I think that's the point. This is a chance to save your career. I think he's done in New York. I don't think he saves himself here at all. He could have an amazing season. He still needs to leave. For his own mental health, to be completely honest. Yeah. I remember the Munich game. I watched him a lot because I think that's where we were all expecting the issues to be. And it wasn't even a bend, don't break. He was absolutely solid. And then out of nowhere, someone's straight round him. They're in DJ's face. Something big has happened. And everyone's, oh, God's sake, Neal. And that's all you remember is the bad plays. And they pile up. And his tape is full of these bad plays. So even if he becomes a world-class guard, I don't think it's smart for him to stay in New York with us anyway. Obviously, the Jets is an option, but I think the move could work. But as you say, a lot of it could be his ego. I don't know the guy, so it's hard to say how he'll adapt to this. I wish him the best of it, but I'd say, if anything, you're hoping he puts enough on tape that you can trade him.
Yeah,
I think you're completely right. When it's been bad, it's been really bad. With Evan Neal, it's some of the worst sort of tackle tape in the league. Or for a starter, forget where he was draft picked. I think, and the draft capital invested in him. When you see it last season, we were like, God, this guy is awful. Like he is really, really bad. The draft capital makes it worse. If he was an undrafted free agent, you would have gone, oh, we just need to get someone better in. But because he's a first round top 10 draft pick, you kind of just like, yeah, it does burn the bridges a little bit. It's a bit like sort of Evan Ingram and the drop against Philly and all that kind of stuff. Regardless,
don't get me started.
Regardless of what you think about Evan Ingram and whether he was a good tight end or whether he would be the best tight end on our roster right now, he burned his bridges with that play, and we didn't want to see the back of him. We didn't care if he went and had success somewhere else. I think unless Evan Neal does play out of his skin at guard, and we say, well, it was our fault for sticking with you at guard for that long, and for a tackle for that long, and actually at guard, and if you're willing to play for $3 million a year, we'll keep you at guard.
I mean, if he has a solid season and at guard, whenever he comes in, I think he'd be stupid to sign a contract for $3 million a year, considering he is still young and he's still got a lot of years ahead of him, and the fact that he was number 7 overall pick as well. So I'd be very, very surprised if he stuck around for that sort of money. Don't get me wrong, if he has a good season and he does stick around for that sort of money, it'd be like, well done, mate, good team player. But I still think as well, like, he's got a little bit of a target on his back because of the burger flipping comment.
Yeah.
I still think that's probably why he's been under the microscope so much, is because of that comment that was made. Yeah, he apologised for it, but it didn't. There's no real excuse for it, and I think he's got it all to prove. He's absolutely got it all to prove, and I think it is a make or break year for his career. for whether like you said, Andy, I reckon he's gone at the end of this year. I don't see him on the Giants in 2026. Whether he gets a contract elsewhere, I mean, he probably will get a contract elsewhere, maybe as a backup. But I suppose that remains to be seen of how good a year he has this year.
And someone's going to take a chance. Like we've had this before, where players have looked bad in our line, they've gone elsewhere, they've been incredible. But with him, there's something. It's where college gets it wrong, because of how uneven the college system is. You get these scouting reports. Everyone had him on their board in that position. 32 teams would have taken him. It wasn't bad scouting, it was just how everyone thought he was going to be. And he flopped. And you see this 3 or 4 times a year. People that were taken top 10 disappear. And unfortunately, he's a product of that. The burger flipping comment doesn't help, especially in New Jersey. Jesus Christ. There's things you just don't say. Like,
yeah, exactly. It wasn't particularly well timed, was it? And I mean, who was the other tackle that was in the draw who went top 10 in 20? Iquanu, wasn't it? Who went to Carolina.
6, I think.
Yeah. And so it was like there was very much that debate of like who's better, Iquanu or Neal. And I mean, I've not really followed Iquanu's career so far, but I've no doubt in my mind that he's probably had a better career so far.
I mean, with those two picks, 5 and 7, you feel robbed, don't you?
Yeah.
We took the two players we should have took, and neither of them have worked out how you wanted it to. Is it us? Like,
maybe, but then also, who else went top? Charles Cross, wasn't it? Went to Seattle.
Yeah.
And it's like, would you rather have had Neal or Charles Cross right now?
I'd have to Google him. I'm not going to lie. This probably sums it up.
I mean, feel free to Google it. It's fine. But I think he's played in all. I think he's played in all 47, 48 games that since he's been at Seattle, and started every single game as well. So that goes to show that he may not have been the best, but he's been consistently good.
What draft are we talking about? Is it 22?
2022, yeah.
Yeah. This is where you like sit there looking in the 3rd round at star players, like, damn it.
Yeah, and you're like, damn, why did we not take him? Yeah.
Hindsight.
Yeah, I don't think the 22 draft, now looking back at it, I don't think it's going to go down as one of the all-time drafts. So having 2 high picks, it wasn't like having 2 high picks in last year's draft.
No.
Where you're going to see Pro Bowlers at most of the top 10 are going to have multiple Pro Bowls from last year. I
think from that draft, I think those that stand out, I think Hutchinson, Sauce, Derek Stingley, probably those 3 are the sort of 3 standout prospects from that draft. And after that, it's almost like, who really remembers or who really knows, sort of thing.
There was no quarterback. Like, I think Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback, right? Is that?
Yeah, that says it all, doesn't it?
So it was it was not a particularly good draft class.
I tell you what, giving it back, I'd have gone Drake London followed by Garrett Wilson, but it's not exactly what we needed at the time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, I know Shane said it multiple times on this show in the past, but it's almost you don't want to be in the position where you're drafting for need. You want to be drafting best player available.
Yeah.
And we, at the time, 3 years ago, we were absolutely drafting for need because we had so many gaps on our roster. Now, obviously, this year, we kind of have gone, we've gone with what we've needed, but also we've looked at best player available as well because, we at 2 went Abdul Carter. It was a no-brainer. Because he was the best player there that was available on the board. He probably the best player available in the entire draft. And I mean, me and Aaron, we were speaking just before we come on air, and we were saying like how good already Abdul Carter looked in OTAs, let alone in camp. So it's almost like we're on to a winner there. And also we've spoken at length about our draft picks so far. Our draft picks of this year, and we, the first five rounds we've gone like tick yes, and your boy Scatterboo as well. It's almost like it was just a case of, are we doing this? Like, is this real? Like, are we getting like these decent players like that are falling to us? And we looked at it and we didn't really draft for positions of need. We drafted players, the best players that were available at the time, and maybe that's a way forward.
And that scat pick, people got excited. Like,
yeah,
the UK Giants post, it went. I had to shut it down in the end. There was just that many likes and stuff. Crazy. Was it all him?
This guy
Stop sharing my posts.
Did people get excited? Don't remember.
He got excited.
It's nice to see the fan base excited, though. Like,
yeah. Exactly that. It's nice to see the excitement, because it's been too long since we've been like really sort of buzzing about players, and we've spoken at length about our draft picks of this year, and we're sort of fairly confident about all of them, really, even down to sort of Thomas Fedone in the 7th round. He's got something he can bring to this team, albeit he's had some serious injuries. So yeah, I mean, let's move on to sort of that rest of the pack of guards then, Aaron. Who we got left on the list?
Yeah, so all familiar faces, so no new faces in at guard, but Aaron Stinney, Joshua Azudu, and Jake Kubas, all three returning players in making up the rest of the interior O-line room. Jake Kubas was a undrafted free agent that made the roster. He started the last 3 games at right guard. We have Aaron Stinney, who's a 5-year veteran, was with us last year before 4 years previously in Tampa Bay. He made 3 starts at left guard, again, all at the end of the season. And Joshua Azudu, he had 3 starts at left tackle. He played in 7 additional games and filled in at left guard in the final game of the season as well. So I think we've seen enough of Azudu at guard. At tackle, and we think he's a guard. I know he ran some time he was one of these guys that was given lots of positional flexibility in sort of training camp. He's not a tackle. We've seen enough of him at tackle. Can he be a guard? Which is why I always thought he was destined to be. I think it'd be really interesting. Kubas is a really fun player. So one of these North Dakota State Bison, another one of these guys that's come out of the FCS, but they seem to make a couple of linemen that really seem to do well. Undersized, but some of his tape was quite fun from last season. He was the guy that did the spine buster on the field goal block and got flagged for it. But it was that kind of, the guy tries to jump him and he just catches him and drives him to the ground. So he's got a real mean streak to him. And with the both guards or both provisional starting guards not been doing too much in OTAs, he's been getting some snaps at right guard with Neal at left guard with the ones. So one to look out for camp for Kubas for certain, and maybe a developmental prospect to be a solid backup. Again, Stinney, he's a backup. He's not going to threaten a starting position. Probably likely makes the roster still. Azudu, again, he may struggle if he can't show himself to be a guard, because I think the backup tackle position has been shored up with some of the free agent acquisitions, and obviously Bo coming in as well to be the backup right tackle. So yeah, quite an interesting group. All guys we've seen before, second year in the system. Hopefully they've all grown a bit and show steps forward. But nice to see that the position battle. These guys are going to be battling for roster spots legitimately, not just getting on the team because that's all we've got left, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You said about a sort of positional battle. And obviously, again, we were talking sort of before we come on air, and coming up, obviously, we've got training camp, and realistically, the only sort of real, competition for starters on this offense is this interior offensive line. So, who do you think will line up on that line to begin week 1 against the Commanders in Cruz Day's time?
Yeah, so I actually think it's more of a battle than people think. So, and it might be JMS that misses out. So, the if Neal succeeds at left guard, I mean, the goal is to get your 5 best guys on the field, right? So, tackle, we're fairly certain that the top 2 are Thomas and Luminor. So it's then the next. We want to get 3, 4, and 5 on the field. Now we have 3, 4, and 5. Neal, Van Roten, and Runyon, or are they Neal, JMS, and Roten, or are they Runyon, JMS, and Van Roten? So I think they're 4, 5, and 6. I think, but I don't know which way you go with things. Van Roten could be the starting centre, and you could go with Runyon at right guard and Neal at left guard. And that may be your day one opening thing. But that's a really interesting thing, right? We've got a camp battle on offense. Okay, it's at line, and maybe it's not the sexiest position. We've got 9 starters coming back from last year. Those positions are pretty set, barring injury. And then we've got a new quarterback, but there's not really a camp battle at quarterback. We know it's Russell Wilson. Everything from OTA says it's Russell Wilson, just from the leadership that he brings alone, let alone the fact that he's a however many time 10-time Pro Bowl QB, right? So I think it's fairly clear that this is the only position battle on offense, but it is a legitimate battle. And because there's some positional flexibility in there with Van Roten, he's got the opportunity to start at centre or guard, and he will probably start at centre if the 2 guards show, and Neal shows that he deserves a starting spot.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, do you think who's your top 3 sort of interior O linemen? Who do you think will be those 3 guys on the field week 1?
I think it'll be Neal that misses out. I think they're going to make him earn it. I can't imagine he's going to earn it through camp. It's going to be something that takes time through the season, unless you've got an injury, in which case he may well get thrown in. But I would assume with the way that Dable coaches, he's going to have to earn it. But honestly, it's just depressing, isn't it? I've never missed David Deal and Chris Sneese so much in my life. Yeah.
Oh, those were the days, right?
And we didn't know it. We took that line for granted so badly. Like, you talk about what, like, Runyon's earning and stuff like that. I just read that Chris Snee career earning was 57 million, which is ridiculous. He was in the league 10 years.
Wow, yeah.
It was a different sport, man.
That's what, 5.7 million a year average,
right?
Quick
Second round pick.
And that's the thing. Like you look back at these historical offensive lines. 2007. You look back, was it Snee, Kevin Booth, Sean O'Hara, Rich Soybert, Dave Deal. 2011 wasn't much different to that, and I think we had Kareem McKenzie on there as well. And it's just like, I would give anything to have a unit like that back. Just that consistently good, just protect the quarterback at all costs.
And standing up for the linemen, I will say that sacks are a QB stat, not an offensive line stat. So if you look at QB stats in the league, there are QBs that get sacked considerably more wherever they play. And I think we'll see, I think our former number 8 will probably be starting in Indianapolis. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that their offensive line rating goes down this year versus last year.
Yeah, he's just like a sack magnet, isn't he?
Am I the only one that wants to see him do well?
No. You are the only one, yeah.
Well,
you probably are the only one.
I don't want to win a Super Bowl, but man, we murdered that kid.
I mean, did we murder him, or was he just shit?
Well, it wasn't really me personally, but Mara's got blood on his hands.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say stuff like that. I'm going to lose my contact.
I think I was with that sort of thought until last season, when he had no excuse last season, and the best pass involving Daniel Jones was the Bratwurst hitting him in Munich. That was the best pass all season last involving Daniel Jones.
don't get me wrong, in Munich, I think my half-time rant as he went off the field was the highlight of the Niners fans behind me. I'd lost my cool there. I wanted him benching there and then, but
I think we all did.
I wasn't sad to see him leave. Like,
yeah. So, I don't see him. I think he will. I mean, Richardson's got an injury, and so I think he wins the starting job in Indianapolis. But I don't think they'll be far from the top of the draft board, drafting their future number one QB next year in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, I say, I do wish him well because, he gave us the best he could for 6 years. And it just so happened to be the best he could give us was awful. But
he had one good season and he got paid because of it.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Once a giant, always a giant, that thing, and it's like, you do wish him well, but it was the right time for him to go, and now we've got an experienced head in Russell Wilson on the centre that can hopefully sort of, start to turn things around, and hopefully we've got our future franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart as well. So it's
stole him as well.
Massively.
Man, that trade up was mental. I can't believe it didn't cost us a first.
Well, the next trade behind us did, right? It was a first round pick.
And it was Atlanta gave up the first next year, yeah.
Man, that's
traded Joe.
I give Joe a lot of hate, but fair play for that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I'm absolutely intrigued by this battle on the interior offensive line. I think, yeah, it's up in the air. It definitely is. And, I fully agree with you, Andy. I think Evan Neal will have to earn it. Whether he earns it throughout camp or not, or it takes him a little bit longer, remains to be seen. I think it probably will take him a little bit longer, in all honesty. But he might. You never know. He might surprise us. He might come out in camp day one and absolutely boss it at right guard, and we'll be like, whoa, where's this guy come from? We've been waiting 4 years for this. Or 3 years, or however long it is for this. And if he does succeed in camp at guard, and we then look to the others, well, Van Roten will probably take that left guard spot, and Runyon will take that other guard spot, and then Van Roten at centre, right? So, or potentially JMS at centre. So I think either Van Roten or JMS miss out. I'd be more inclined to say maybe Van Roten will miss out more than JMS. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle, and probably, like you said, the only real sort of camp battle for starting positions on this O-lines, on this offense.
Yeah, and there's no spoilers from OTAs because everyone knows it's a passing camp, right? And you can't do linemen, you can't do anything. The video that went viral of Carter and all the other O-linemen, D-linemen absolutely destroying them, and I'm like, yeah, as an O-line, actually what I was watching was that Neal and JMS actually did a nice block on the I don't know, it wasn't Dex in there because obviously he's not been practicing, but the nose tackle, they did a great job blocking that, and he was quick moving his feet, Neal in there, and I actually was like, Neal looks all right.
Yeah.
That was about the one thing I took from that tape.
Yeah, so there's a glimpse, there's a little glimmer of hope maybe for Evan Neal. But yeah, obviously as sort of training camp gets going, in a month from now, we'll be chatting about that, no doubt, and we'll bring you all the latest from camp. But yeah, all right then. So that is offensive line done. That is the offense done in total. We've covered every single position on offense. We covered every single player we currently have on the roster on offense. And next week move on to the defensive side of the ball. But unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. We'll be back next Wednesday at the usual time to start looking at the defense as we carry on our state of play series. Looking at the big boys up front, looking at the DTs, looking at the edge. They come under the microscope, so make sure you tune in then. Aaron, anything else to add before we go?
No, just 5-star review, and we'll see everyone at Belushi's on the 26th of October.
We absolutely will, including you, Andy. Andy, do you want to add anything? Thanks for coming on this evening, mate. Thanks for staying on as well. We appreciate you staying on.
No, it's been a pleasure. You seem to be down on numbers. Where's Shane?
Sunning himself somewhere, no doubt. I don't know. No, I think he's working.
I told you he's on holiday then. Poor kid needs it. He's a West Brom fan. But no, it's always a pleasure. I do enjoy coming on.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on, man. We'll no doubt get you back on during the season at some point as well.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to. I mean, the fact that we are out now only 80 days away from the season as well, it's almost like, come on, we're a month away from camp. We're, 6-7 weeks away from pre-season week 1. It's not far to go, boys, not far to go.
It's the hope that kills you, man.
Oh, yeah. It is the hope that kills you. Go in with no expectations, so then at least then when something good happens, you're like, oh, well, it's a surprise. Yeah, looking forward to getting into the defence next week. And like I said, DT's an edge under the microscope, so tune in to us then. Check out all of our socials for the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we're at. Give this episode a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to get notified on when we're going live. Andy, plug your channels, plug your social networks. Where are you? Where can our viewers and listeners find you at?
We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. You can find it all through the Facebook pretty much, which is NY Giants Fans UK. It should be the UK Giants, but not the time.
Hey, there we go. NY Giants Fans UK. Find them out, get involved, become a member of the extended Giants family in the UK, and yeah, we have a good laugh in there, don't we? So appreciate your time, gents, this evening. Thanks to everyone that was watching and listening for getting involved in the comments. We appreciate you getting involved and appreciate the love, and my thanks as ever go to Aaron and to Andy for joining me. We're signing off until next time. Let's go Giants.